Hi everyone, and thanks for visiting my first garden. So today I want to go around and see what I might have that can work as a cut flower. I have some leftover greenery from another bouquet that the flowers were already spent and died out. It's about a foot tall white vase, so I want to see what I might have here in the month of December, and then I can compare it to the years after to see what might still be lasting here in December. It hasn't gotten cold yet. We're expecting a cold of 32 the last I saw. It was 36, then dropped down to 32 around Christmas time, so that's going to be something new. Let's go see what I have right now. So I have this pail with some water in it. I need to get one of those aluminum tall flower holders so that when I do these sort of cut arrangements that the plants immediately once they get snipped they go in the water. I think that's sort of why they're made and the best option for it, but I'm going to use this little pail for now. So I went and I snipped some of these. I think I looked it up. It was like, gosh, I forget the name. I think it was Mexican heather or Mexican grass, something. So I'll show you right now. So this is it. They were getting pretty spent. The stems were just basically left over, and now I actually see that they're starting to get some new growth at the base here. So I thought that they would bloom directly from this stem again. So that's why I hadn't been cutting it, because I didn't want to, cut off a next bloom that might be down the road. But actually, I guess it's coming from new wood, as you can see here. So I'm gonna go ahead and clean this up a bit and see if I can go ahead and use some of these longer stems for a part of the arrangement. These are always really cool. I haven't used them in a cut flower arrangement, so I want to see if they last in a vase, and maybe they'll even root, and that'd be a fun way to find out. These grasses are also good filler. I like to use every now and then, and we'll just keep going around the garden and see what we can find. So let's start with cleaning this up though. We're gonna snip some of the wood parts. Just clear it out. You can probably just leave it in there. It'll decompose and maybe add more nutrients, but just for purposes now, I want to make sure I can get to the branches that I want to use for the cut flower arrangement. So take some of these out. I can snip this one too. So it's another one you can see new growth is coming in. And maybe also cutting it back will force new growth to occur as well. So sort of a double benefit to cleaning up your flower beds and containers. Okay, so these are kind of hidden. This sweet potato vine is taken over here. I see one long stem back here. Let's try that one. Oh, didn't cut it. Let's try it again. Okay. There you go. So something like this. It's a pretty short vase that I'm using, so I think this will work just fine. And then I'll put it in the water. You can probably strip some of the leaves off just so that it doesn't rot in the water, but that's usually once it's actually in the vase and will be settled there. This is just sort of a carrying case for now. Let's put these in here. I might have to fish them out later because they're kind of a small opening here, but I don't mind. So now I want to try one of these. Let's try this one. It's hanging, but not too much. I kind of liked the spilled hang look, so I'm not trying to ruin that more than necessary. Okay. Actually, let's find something else. This is not working. Let's see what I might have. I usually use something smaller. Let's try the Lowe's container. It's kind of big, but it's what I see here at the moment. So just to get the water out and the plants can settle in something. Let's see. Not the most conventional, but let's see if it works. Okay, and then this tall one. right here. So this will be the first one that I cut. I want to see, let's see where I should cut it. I did hear that once you see the top bottom open up, that's when you should go ahead and open it and snip it. Let's see. So the stem follows here. Let's try to get as close to the middle here. Okay. Yay, first snapdragon. So these I grew from seed, and I don't know how to get them straight. We'll find out later on. But for right now, this one is the first one, and it's looking gorgeous. It's yellow. The mix that I got is different colors, so we'll see what other colors germinate out of here. But let's move on. Let's see what else I can find. This zinnia looks really nice. Let's see. Can probably go ahead and snip this one. Okay. Pretty and pink. Now let's try the back garden. Oh, these columbine leaves work really well. Let's cut some of these as close to the base as we can. So the last times I've tried these, they sort of immediately wilt, but if you give it a couple hours, maybe the day, the leaves will bloom back up again. They'll firm back up. It'll look like it's wilted and you'll want to throw it away, but you can go ahead and leave it and it'll self-correct itself. This one also is kind of tangled. Let's try this one. Maybe just for the benefit of the plant because it was sort of tangling around, but it could be a good spiller. And this yellow coleus is really good too. Well, lime green sort of yellow look. Maybe from the back. That's nice. So these look like they're spent. I'll give it a good snip here. Okay. I don't know if petunias work for cut flowers. I imagine not, because they're pretty finicky with not getting enough sun. So once they're inside, I doubt they're gonna really enjoy that. Let's try some of these grasses while we're on this side. I think that's good. Now this one is kind of tiny. It does get sun from this side, so that's why it's more full here, and sort of has an empty gape here. So I'm not sure how to help it, how to correct it, but I don't want to cut one of these yet. They don't look long enough. If I see one, like this one's kind of lower and draping, it looks like it might snap off anyways. Let's try this one. So, I'll try this one. This looks really like a holiday theme. And maybe one lower down. This one. Okay, so I think that's good. And this is pretty much going to fill up the small vase that I have. Now that we're inside, I went ahead and pulled out the vase that I'm going to be using for today's bouquet and added some new water and some fertilizing food, those powder packets that you get from bouquets. These are the leftover greeneries that I want to use for today's bouquet, and sort of gave me the inspiration of I need to refill this vase and see what I have in my garden. So let's begin. I have my smaller snippers here. These are more handy for small cut arrangements versus the large pruners when you take things from your garden out into the inside. So when I do indoor ones, this is the one I use. Same thing when I get store arrangements as well. I just snip it to the vase that I'm going to be using. So let's use these greeneries as a base. So we have 4. That's sort of a perfect amount, making it a square for the small of a vase that we have here. And I pulled some purple from our front garden, and I think that's going to be a nice contrast. So purple and green. We'll put these on the side. I already pulled off the bottoms of the stems just for the sake of time here. And for, let's see, I saved these are really pretty. I want to see if the nodes that occur when you pull off the stems here, I want to see if those can root in water as well. So these are more straight. I want to use them as a pick at the end. So whatever spot I feel needs a little more attention, I'll add them there. So for our snapdragon and our zinnia, I think those will be the focal flower. So that'll go in the center, and you can sort of weave it around the base that you just made, the framework of these greenery. And then as we start adding, we can always rearrange, but for the most part I want those to be in the center, the focal part. We can add this lime green coleus just for the color. It's really beautiful, and this one I know for sure starts to root in water, so that's really great because after this arrangement dies back, I could just pull this one out and make a hole in the garden, and it'll re-root and make a whole new plant just from a cutting. So as we saw earlier, I didn't cut too much of the plant, very minimal. You will barely even notice it was gone, and it's going to be really nice to have a whole new plant just from a cutting. Now I pulled these darker green ones, and we have the lighter green one with white stripes on the outside from our back garden, and that's going to be a nice little weeping structure around the edges. So this arrangement is going to sit behind our couch, so I don't want it to be too distracting or too disturbing. Let's say someone wants to stretch and lean back or something. I don't want it to be all in their business, so just something on the side and on the back I think will work for this arrangement. And placing it in. These are super simple, also very minimal effect to the plant. I wouldn't even know where I cut these if I were to look at it again. So if you have these, I think they're Laura Pelham. They have purple blooms as well when they do flower, but for the most part they're an evergreen, and they'll stay green as like a grassy structure. These are a bit too long. We'll go ahead and snip some of that, so when it sits in the back, it's not hitting the wall too much. So this is starting to look more like the front. I'm going to move the coleus to the front and help perk up the snapdragon a bit more with the stem, sort of moving it in and around. Yeah, that works. Next we have some of the columbine leaves. Like I said earlier, these will look like they're wilting. If you have columbine in your garden and you want to give it a snip, they'll look like they're wilting. Give it a day or some hours and they'll perk right back up. These I use in our bathroom because we have a very small ledge, so I use a nice little dainty vase, and I put a piece of greenery in it and maybe some of these grasses. And something nice and small, something naturey and earthy to look at in the morning is always nice. And that's when I noticed it, because I cut these the morning, went back sort of the afternoon and wanted to see them nice and shining and perking, and I noticed that they were all wilted, so I was very sad, about to throw them away, but I left them in there for a day or so just to, maybe didn't want to get around to it at that moment, and I noticed the very next day they were perked right back up like normal. So these will go on the side. When I had the columbine, this is the first columbine that I have, so I was too scared to cut the blooms, but this year I will be hopefully having more blooms and sowing additional plants that I'll be able to use the columbine as a cut flower too. Okay, let's add this purple to match with the purple that we have already. For the water, I usually tend to change it every 2 days. If it's a nice arrangement that I've gotten or purchased from somewhere, I tend to change the water every day so it can get the best vase life. But when it's something from my house and simple, and I could always maybe add a new stem the very next day or 2 days after, I stick to a 2-day water mixture. And I add new flower food as well while I'm doing that. So this is starting to look like the front. I want to add the picks last, but it looks like we're getting there. Oh, I have this cypress style, very Christmassy look, so I want to add that to the front as well so we can see it. Maybe moving this one. So just playing around with it. I don't have a set design in mind when I start a flower arrangement. It's sort of just as it comes. There we go. So now we're going to add these last picks, and then I'll get it over to our sofa where it'll sit. Okay, these picks, hold it back a bit, and the last one. So very cute, something simple, something from 5 minutes just walking out in the garden. It's always nice to bring something nature inside. In my mind, I will always have something fresh in my house, whether it's a large arrangement on our kitchen table or a small arrangement in our living room or in our bathroom. Something live, fresh, green is always great, something I really enjoyed as I started gardening here this year. So thank you all for watching. You're always welcome. Thank you for visiting my first garden, and I'll see you soon. Bye.